guys, how's it going? Welcome to this week's recap video. We are up in the front sun porch today because it's gorgeous outside. We got a bunch of rain last night and this morning, and overcast days are a little bit few and far between here, and this sun porch is on the south side of our house. So with all the windows right here, we get a lot of sun in here, and if it's like kind of a cloudy day, it's like shade, sun, shade, sun. It could be a little bit tough to film up here. So we take every opportunity that we can. Also, there's no trenches this way. I look out the window and it's like, no, there's a lot of planting we need to do yet, which can happen over time, but there's no open trenches with big piles of dirt around them. Yay. Yeah, even though I know that's not going to last for very long on the other half of our garden, but still, it's nice to see nice green grass.
I think Chad will close up the trenches here in about a week or so.
Really?
Yeah, so they'll be gone before you know it.
We're going to plant, I think our plants will arrive probably as he's filling up the trenches.
Right.
And then we can start in with some of the bone structure plantings. It's going to be good, you guys. I'm so excited. And you fertilized yesterday, which is well timed.
I feel pretty proud of myself. Everything went to plan. I knew the rain was coming, but yeah, I fertilized, so got watered in. Ugh. Should be good.
Nice. Okay, let's jump into the videos from last week. Answer some questions here. So the first one was seedlings, a tour, thinning, separating, potting up, and fertilizing. That was a day that we woke up to a bunch of rain. We've had so much moisture over the last week or 10 days or so. It's been awesome, and the 10-day forecast looks great. I think there might be another day of rain in there somewhere, which we are always thankful for. But it was one of those days where it was just pouring in it, so it was soggy outside. A perfect day to kind of update you guys on what was going on in the greenhouse. Now, given the fact that this is our first year with a heated greenhouse, it's been kind of a learning curve for me to figure out how to grow things from seed in a heated greenhouse. I'm not using grow lights in there. I'm used to everything being very monitored inside because the temperature doesn't fluctuate. It does wildly in our greenhouse. So we have it set to where it won't go below 65 at night because we're still getting into the like high 30s, mid to high 30s and low 40s at this point. So it won't go below 65, but you guys, during the day, it can heat up to like 90 something in there. And it can like fluctuate fast, like within minutes. It'll go from 65 during that video. I think it was that video. It went from 65 when the sun went behind a cloud up to 84 when the sun came back out of the cloud. And so I'm constantly raising and lowering those sides, which eventually we should have automatic.
Yeah, one day. I think
it's going to involve like calling the company and right?
Yeah.
And kind of troubleshooting, figuring that out. Right now, it's kind of like they have to fend for themselves, some of these seedlings. And there's
maybe this fall.
Yeah. There are some things that, like, at this point, I know that I will start inside next year, like snapdragons. Those will be inside because I had, like, far and away better growth on those than when I had them inside the last few years. What else? I mean, for the most part, things are doing really well, and it's been such a fun space. But anyway, I also wanted to walk you through how I thin things, separate things, and, you know, like utilize all the seedlings in some cases, and then how I pot them up and how I fertilize. Amy said, coffee plants and the ever familiar, hey guys, how's it going? Given the ever changing and chaos that social media seems to make feel constant, it's lovely to have this joyful, kind and plant-filled corner of the internet to start the day and listen to while I'm get going for the day. Have a blessed day, Garden Answer peeps. It's really an encouraging thing for me to hear that. We try really hard to keep things positive, to keep things focused on gardening for the most part. A little bit of family stuff sprinkled in here and there, and no drama, none of that stuff. We don't want any of that here, and we want to be that kind of consistent kind of feel and not be all over the place. And it would be an easy thing to do. I mean, we're all human, right?
Sure.
So it would be easy to let some of those things creep in, but we try not to as much as possible. So anyway, that's encouraging to hear that you can come here and kind of escape just a little bit. GJ said, if the sides come up and down with the temperature, how do you keep wildlife out? You don't. The cats are in there. Like Cheddar knocked over one of my trays of snapdragons, actually. I've got to figure out, I don't know. There's a lot of things I still need to figure out. Up to this point, I've had dahlia crates sitting in there with like burlap on the top, and they've been using those as beds, and they can get in and out even if the sides are down. So nothing can get trapped in there. They can like squeeze between the flaps of plastic where the sides roll up. So the cats go in and out all the time, which really, except for that one tray of seedlings, hasn't been a problem. And what I ended up doing was, you know, the humidity domes, I kind of set some upright along like an edge of where all my seed trays are. I set them upright and kind of trap them underneath one of my seed trays so they're more vertical, so they can't get through it as easily. I mean, they can knock it down, but it keeps them away. Yeah, it's that's the wild ones. It's the stray ones that end up kind of coming in and out that cause a little bit more problem than ours. Russell doesn't really do anything naughty except for what?
Russell's
doesn't
good.
really do anything naughty. Teresa said, seedlings, I have to wonder if planting your direct sow seeds into a larger pot would improve the success rate. What are your thoughts? Okay, so direct sow seeds into a larger pot. So direct sowing seeds means you're directly planting them in the ground outside, not starting them inside in a container. So are you talking like the stuff that I usually start outside? Would it be more successful if I started it in a pot? Am I reading that correctly?
I'm not really sure.
I'm not sure. All the stuff I start outside, so sunflower, zinnias, cosmos, calendula, nasturtiums, bachelor's buttons, nigella, a lot of those things do great. Just directly seeding them in the ground, I've never really tried them. Actually, no, I did one tray of zinnias last year. It was exactly the same as if I planted them out. In fact, they weren't even as thick. Usually when I plant them outside, I seed them a little bit heavier and they come up beautifully and gorgeous. And the row where I planted the individual plants, they just weren't quite as I could have planted them closer together. But anyway, it was not necessary to do that. So anyway, sorry if I didn't quite understand that question. Olivia said, did those complicated blue poppy seeds ever germinate? No. I bought another packet. They're in the refrigerator right now, getting their 4 weeks of cold period, which I think is up. I could try, it says to start them in January though, so I'll be all off even if I try again. We'll see. Sandy said, when watering your seedlings, can you water from below? Pop out one pot or a cell pack and fill the tray, let it sit for 30 minutes, then drain the tray. I hate to see your hard work burn up from the hard water. Yeah, that's definitely something that I'll be changing going forward. It's just, I don't even know how I didn't think about that. Like, hard water is such an issue for us, and that's why drip irrigation, I mean, it's not the only reason why drip irrigation is the best way to water around here, but it definitely keeps hard water off of our plants because it waters right at root level. And right now, all the seedlings in the greenhouse, they're getting overhead hose water. So of course they're getting that hard water white buildup, which is making some of my seedlings look pretty crummy. And I know they'll come out of it once I plant them and, you know, get them on a drip system. But I, up to this point, had been using the seed starting kits. I don't know if that's what it's called. They're from Gardener Supply. They're 24 cells. I've showed them so many times. And then they have a self-watering reservoir down below. And that's what I've used inside for the last few years. Have had phenomenal luck with them. And I think it's something I'll probably go back to a little bit more, even in the greenhouse, even though watering is like so much easier and I can make a mess and it doesn't matter. And things, you know, tend to, I don't know, hang on to water in there more than they did inside with the forced air. I don't know. There's just so many different factors going in, but I do think bottom watering for most everything is preferable to overhead watering no matter the situation. Donna said, how are the water jug seed starters doing? Kind of so-so. Kind of let them dry out a little bit. Sometimes you get too many irons in the fire and sometimes things fall through the cracks. So those things are usually the things that are tucked away that I can't see. So they dried out a little bit. I've probably got 50% going. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I have so many things going in the greenhouse right now. It's just fun to have something going on. And like those jugs, I'll reuse those. We'll use the soil. The ones, I'll take the seedlings out that sprouted and plant those. All the extra soil will just be poured into a flower bed, probably out in the south garden. And then I'll reuse those same water jugs next year. So
I thought the whole point of that was that you didn't need to
well, in
water.
areas where you get enough moisture. Yeah, which is like everywhere but here, except for right now.
Yeah.
I mean, we might see a little boom in germination even.
Yeah.
Because unless they got bone dry, which I don't think they ever got bone dry, but we've had so much moisture that we might see a little bit of a flush.
Sure.
So we'll see. Mary said, can normal people buy plugs or do you have to be a business? I think it kind of depends, don't you?
Well, yeah. I know in some cases you have to provide like a nursery license, like, you know, you're a legit business with your license to be able to purchase wholesale plugs. In other cases, I think it's just a straight quantity. It's like if you can meet minimums, which, you know, a lot of places it's like maybe $1,500 or something like that as a minimum.
Well, my plugs definitely weren't worth that.
Yeah, right. Well, that's the problem
sure.
is that most people, it's just not economical to meet the minimums because, you know, they don't need that many.
They get together with a bunch of friends.
Yeah, right.
And put it in order. Next video is first day of sidewalk and brick patio demo plus planting a birch tree. I felt when I was watching that video back, I told Aaron, like, this one is all over the place. Like, I'm doing this and then all of a sudden I'm planting an arb. And then like it just felt a little bit disjointed, but that's kind of how the day was. So Chad showed up. Well, first off, we dismantled the butterfly garden, and then like that whole area. Took the furniture, got it out of the way, got some containers out of the way, just kind of prepped the area a bit. And then Chad showed up to start taking the sidewalk out and start trenching. Then I realized that there was a tater tot arborvitae that looks really good, and I just didn't really think about it before. It's not until the excavator shows up that you're like, like I saw all these plants.
The thing is that I have been mentioning it. I think you've just been tuning me out.
Kind of. I mean,
because I have been mentioning those things at like. And I can tell you are shutting down a little bit because you don't a lot of people don't like the destruction.
Yeah.
I mean, who wants a trench going through your property?
I'm trying to embrace it right now. I'm embracing it.
Yeah.
I'm embracing it by ordering furniture for the Hartley. That's basically how I'm handling this situation. It's funny though. I'm so visual that I looked at furniture and things for the Hartley, just like patio furniture and stuff to put in there last year, but I couldn't pull the trigger on anything until I see the floor. I didn't know what the floor was going to be until like a month and a half ago, 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And so I had to see the floor go in to kind of know what style of furniture I wanted to order. And now we're going to wait 3 months for that to arrive. Like it's a process.
Yeah.
And I don't want to just like put any old thing in there,
Like whatever Home Depot was selling this year.
Yeah, I mean, there's fine furniture there, but I don't know, I just kind of had like this vision. And I ended up with some fun, like the chairs. It was like in my inspiration folder, like I love these chairs. When I looked at them, I thought, well, I probably won't buy those. They're a little bit too spendy. I went back to look at them, half off when I'm ready to order them. Like, I always feel like those kinds of situations are like destiny. I'm meant to have these chairs.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's not what that video is about. Anyway, I ended up moving the arborvitae, planting with your help in the end. I got the hole dug by myself. Soil was a lot more soft back there than I thought it was going to be. It wasn't that hard of a hole to dig. We planted the last birch tree back there, just kind of buttoned up a few things. So Jen said, I honestly cannot believe how little mess was made taking up the old sidewalk. Chad literally just delicately popped up the slabs and picked them up out of the way. Amazing to watch. He is amazing to watch. And somebody said it's like he's picking up little graham crackers and just like scooting them out.
Well, you know what's really interesting about Chad is that whenever I prep my mind for where he's going to be going and what he's going to be cutting, it's always interesting because he goes in and then he'll find irrigation line that I know he's going to find, but I don't know exactly where it is. Mm-hmm. And he'll get to it and he actually won't even disturb a lot of the stuff. Like occasionally he'll hit something, but I just assume he's going to hit everything.
Right.
You assume total destruction. But he'll come across something and be like, oh yeah, I can tell that there's... And I asked him about it. I was like, can you tell where things are? He goes, yeah, it feels different with the machine. And so he'll come along something and then just dig around it. And then he'll leave a bunch of irrigation, fine
right
through the trench. And you don't have to repair it.
Like there's a drip tube running through, which are I break those with my own shovel, digging a hole. And he left it perfectly intact. And it was interesting when I was watching him in the very beginning, because I asked him, I'm like, is it possible to not pile any dirt just in this very front area until you get out to like where it's a little bit more open? Because we've got hydrangeas and hostas and, all kinds of things around here. He was like, oh, no problem. When I saw him start to dig, he'd put his bucket in and like gentle. Like he'd make really gentle motions to kind of like, it's kind of like how you do that with your shovel to get stuff on the shovel blade. He did that with the bucket so that it didn't, because a lot of times if you were to pry something, you'd pry everything next to it as well. But he does it in a way that things just are not disturbed.
Yeah.
One lavender plant got pulled up and I can replant it. That is it. Like,
what are you going to do with the other ones?
Well, they're there. I know I should have addressed it in the video, but a lot of you guys were like, oh my gosh, the lavender, it's going to be fine. He rolled over the top of it. It got a good rejuvenation prune. It'll be fine. It's going to have to be moved anyway. It's one of those things I meant to move and just, I haven't had time. Like I'm moving as many things as I can as I have time to do it. Anyway, it'll be completely fine. A lot of it's still intact.
Yeah.
Like a lot of it didn't, it just kind of got like smushed down a bit.
Right.
And there's still like healthy growth underneath. So Sherry said, looking forward to all the changes. Why didn't you dig out and save the lavender beforehand? Time. I know. Also, you got to pick your battles too. Lavender is like $3 per plant. And I know looking at that, it's like a more established hedge. Lavender doesn't last forever either. It kind of starts to peter out after like year 5, 6, whatever. Mine tends to last quite a long time though, because I cut it back to the ground every year. I never let it form that woody base, which I think starts to make lavender look kind of crappy in the end. I like it to look fresh and like really mounded, and we keep it around for quite a number of years typically.
Yeah.
Typically. But I kind of think like, all right, so I have a priority list of plants. Which ones are the most expensive and hard to find? Those get dug first. And then the ones that I can replace easily will get dug last.
Is that $3 per plant? That's not your cost.
Yeah, no, that's retail.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it might be like between $3 and $4 a plant. But I mean, when you consider like, well, I have a boxwood that's huge that I need to,
right.
That I need to dig out. Like that is worth way more than a little lavender hedge.
Yeah.
So you just have to kind of weigh those things. Tanya said, do you honestly and truly have as much energy as you show? I feel you do. How do you stay motivated? You know what? I was just talking to my brother on the phone this morning. He's like, I don't know how you have ideas all the time. And I just told him it's really not about having ideas. It's just our workflow. It's just we have projects going on, and I'm trying to bring you guys along for whatever we're doing. We do far less creative projects than we used to,
right.
Like DIY stuff. And just because there's so much just daily going on in this garden. And, maybe there'll be a day where we do more of that sort of thing. It depends too on, like, I don't want to force anything. If I'm not in the mood to do something like that, I don't want to force it just for a video. That doesn't feel right.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think part of it is that those DIY projects, I don't think people realized the massive amount of hours of prep time that it took to do those.
Yeah.
And one, you're not always in the mood to do that. Mm-hmm. But like, yeah, so I don't know. I think that what we're doing now, it's like you show pretty much all of what you're doing. Like there isn't a whole lot that you don't film.
Right.
And I think that's more fun to just like film the whole process.
Right.
As opposed to those DIY projects, you're only filming kind of part of the project because you oftentimes don't film your prep.
Right.
Prep
and gathering supplies and things like that is just... It takes a lot of time. And honestly, I feel like that's how we've avoided burnout.
Yeah, right.
Because we're not forcing anything. And if you force yourself to do stuff that you're not feeling, and you continually do that over and over again, like that's
not... If we were doing fairy gardens every week, we'd be burned out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, big time burned out. Because you feel like, okay, well, I did a water feature in this one. I should do a water feature with a twist in this one. So what should I do differently? And sometimes I'm in the mood to do that, and sometimes I'm not. And you go through phases in life, too.
Sure.
And right now our phase is let's fill in the holes. Let's get the infrastructure set up, which is what we're doing, which is going to make life so nice going forward. It means a lot of destruction. And I'm always kind of like at Aaron a little bit, because when he thinks infrastructure, it means like big tear out, but it also means I'm going to be thankful. Like, give me 1 year and I'll be like, thank you for like encouraging us to just go ahead and trench all the way to the back of the barn. Instead of waiting to do it another time. Like, let's just rip the Band-Aid off and get it all done right now. It's cheaper to do it that way, and it's far less upset just to do it all at once.
Right.
Anyway, we recently moved into a new house, and this will be our first summer making it our own. It already has a good layout with some mature plants we plan on keeping. Is it best to start out with a good overall maintenance of the property and just focus on making changes at one section at a time? That's probably what I would do. I would live in your space for a minute. I would maintain what's there, see what's there, let it go through a full season, because you might have a shrub that you're not really familiar with, and you think, well, it looks just like green leaves right now, but maybe it blooms in the spring, or does something awesome in the summer, or something that you haven't been there yet for. Like, really pay attention to what those plants are doing, and if it's something that you really love. Do not hesitate to take stuff out that you do not love, though. Get rid of it. Put something in that you like.
I think, if I could interject.
Yes.
I think that you should spend as much time as you can thinking about what you want out of the space, and try to, if you're going to be there forever, try to have like a 10, 20 year plan and think about what you want in 10 to 20 years, not what you necessarily want today. Because I think it's worth the investment to forego some of the projects that maybe you would want to do today to save up to do the things that are going to matter more in the future that you just can't do. Like, so to me, the infrastructure is kind of important, because it's like if you need, water or power a little bit farther away from the house, or like let's say you want to do a vegetable garden that's a little ways away from the house, you're probably going to need water and power trenched out to that location. So get some of those things done first, as opposed to putting it, like you get so excited, put the vegetable garden in, and you're like, but I got to drag buckets.
And then it's not pleasant.
It's not fun, or it's not pleasant, or you're running a hose all the way from a house, and so you've got like 100, feet.
We've done that.
Yeah, we have.
Cut flower garden first year.
That's what I would say, is try to think about like the infrastructure and the large trees that you're going to want. Are you going to want to hedge certain things and get some of those things going, because they take so long. Like if you plant a spruce, it's gonna take so long to grow, and worry about the annuals later.
Yeah, that's good advice. Goth Mama Freedom said, where was Benjamin for all those machines at the end of the video? Did he enjoy watching that, or is that just the usual for him and he's more into trains? He enjoys all of it. I think
he was watching through the window, and I picked him up. He didn't have shoes on, but I picked him up, and we watched Chad for quite a while. We
had a firm conversation with him, though, pretty much every morning, and we tell him, you may not come outside without an adult.
Yeah.
You may not, you do not step outside without an adult when there's all the big machines. Nope. And it's his chore every day to go gather eggs. It's so cute. He goes out there and, he's so excited about it. But we have him wait until everybody's gone home for the evening. And that's when he's been gathering eggs instead of right after lunch, which is when he usually does it. So anyway, yeah. It can be nerve-wracking with all those machines. But he really does enjoy it. And he chats up. I think we talked about this. Did we talk about this last week? How he knows all the people that come here and has a relationship with them. It's so cute. Mark Antoine said, did you guys buy a golf cart? We did. So, okay. I love our gators so much. And as many of you probably know, it's really hard to get any parts to fix things at the moment. There's just things backed up. One of our golf carts, gators rather, sorry. One of the gators, we only have one golf cart. One of the gators was not functioning properly. It would run okay if you had full battery power, but once you got down to halfway, it was it would stop.
It was dead, basically.
Yeah. And you never know.
But the batteries were fine.
Yeah. So I don't know we're waiting. It's in the shop, and it's been in the shop for months, and we're waiting on a part. We have no idea when it's going to come in. In the meantime, we can't function without to get everything done. Paul, he is an integral, is that the right word?
Yeah.
Part of this operation, and he needs a way to get from point A to point B quickly. And so do we, because we're doing projects all the time. We have equipment, we have plants, we have augers, we've got things that we need to get from point A to point B. And so we decided, well, there's golf carts. It was
kind of the only option. It was the only thing locally that you could buy. You can't even buy we don't have, there's nobody that sells another gator around here.
Right.
So we were like, the resale value of golf carts probably isn't too bad. So if we need to offload it later, then when we get the gator back, then we can do that. Things
I really like about the gator is that it's lower. I can put more stuff in it. It has the dump bed feature. And it's more practical for what we're doing. I really like it. But the golf cart, now you can't load as much stuff in it, and it's way higher. So it's a little harder for me to get up into, but it has a screen in the front, or a windshield.
Like a plexiglass?
Yeah. And that is nice. It's so nice. It has a top and a windshield. So when it's chillier out, Samantha would live outside if we let her. And so in the evenings, even if it's windy or chilly or kind of rainy, which it has been, we just get on the golf cart and roll around, and we're all protected, and it goes faster, which is real nice.
Yeah.
Gator kind of creeps along, which made me feel comfortable with the kids. But the golf cart zips around a little bit faster.
Yeah.
Rhonda said, why didn't you use your trusty auger for the big hole? Well, the reason why we didn't use the big auger is because there was a live water line right there. I found it. I didn't hit it. It was so awesome. So we just decided to hand dig it, because...
That's what we should have done with that other one that I was worried about possibly hitting. That we actually hit.
I didn't know that you were I didn't know there was a water line. I didn't know you were worried about it.
The whole time I was sitting there watching Paul, with the big machine. I was like, I think we're off far enough, but we'll
see.
Yeah.
So hand digging it, you can go slower, and you can, not hit water lines if possible. And so I found it and actually readjusted my whole back a little bit so that we were away from it. Ethan said, did Benjamin question why you guys were moving his garden? No, he doesn't care. He doesn't care at all. He had fun picking up plants. He's just too young when we did that garden. He enjoyed it. and it was fun for me, and it was fun for like us to do together. But he's pretty good. He has to be pretty good with change around here. Like, he's just used to it. He's used to us moving stuff around, and we're actually going to be doing something real fun out in the cut flower garden that I'm super excited about. That will be more centered around Tim and Samantha, and we will utilize those fun sections out there. Life with Jessie B said, have you ever thought about putting solar on your barn?
Yeah.
Didn't we just talk about that yesterday?
Well, I actually, last year, I filled out a thing on Tesla's website about a Tesla roof. Because I was thinking, we probably are going to need to replace the roof on the barn at some point. It'd be kind of fun to do a Tesla roof. I'm not a huge fan of solar panels on roofs. I love the idea of making the roof the solar panels.
Sure.
So I would way lean that direction. If there are other companies that do that, I'd be interested. Tesla's the only one that I know about, but I don't think they're available in our area. So I kind of would rather wait for that. But I think it'd be perfect to put solar panels or to put a solar roof.
It'd be on the west side of the barn. Well, I mean, it'd be awesome if it was both sides because it's exposed on either side, but even just the west side because there's so much sun right there.
We could probably generate a ton of power.
Yeah.
Especially during the summer.
Yeah.
During the wintertime, I don't know.
Well, it depends on the year.
Yeah.
We were talking about it because I think our neighbors are having some installed on their roof right now. The neighbors behind our vegetable garden. They had some work was being done up there. And it looks like the kind of brackets or, I don't know, what hardware that they go on. Go Raven said, will the new walkway be wide enough for the gator to not roll over the grass, or does it not matter in this area?
Well, going up to the house probably won't be wide enough.
No. It'll be such a short distance, too. Russell. It'll be such a short distance at this point, like we're going to cut the walk time in half from where we used to have to come in to where the new opening's going to be. We'll be able to roll up a little closer anyway now. It hasn't been a problem up to this point. There are just certain areas of the garden that I want to have it feel a little bit more intimate and cozy. And that usually means more narrow walkways, not as narrow as it currently is, but just like a little bit more closed in spaces a little bit because we have so much wide open at the moment. It won't be like that forever, but for the moment it is. Next video is potting calla and canna lilies and yarrow starts. So that was another day that it was kind of windy outside and kind of a good day to be inside the greenhouse. Plus I had calla rhizomes and canna rhizomes that were starting to sprout, so they needed to be potted up. I could have waited, I suppose. I just watered them a bit in the state that they were in, kind of just being stored in potting soil, and then we could have planted them out once the temperature's warm enough outside, but that would have been at least a month, probably. Maybe a little less than a month from now. But anyway, I figured that I'm giving them a 3 to 4 week head start by potting them up in the greenhouse, which is kind of fun. So we just went over some of that, and then I planted some Peter Cottontail yarrow starts, and that's where I got the plugs. They were kind of plugs. They were roots, basically. They were just like big root balls with a tiny little bit of growth on the top, and I'm excited to plant those out in the south garden. Jessica said, watching with my 5-year-old, which is our usual wake-up routine, around the 13-minute mark, the video speeds up. She asks me, why is Laura going so fast? I tell her that they are speeding up the video so it doesn't get too long or boring. She responds, well, it doesn't get boring to me. So sweet. Oh. We all love the videos. That is so cute. Tell her thank you. Double DRM 2000 said, what is a poisonberry and why would one grow it? Poisonberry.
Talk about a boysenberry.
Oh, boysenberry. Boysenberries are like blackberries. Sorry, I wouldn't grow a poisonberry on purpose.
Yeah.
That's like a January tree.
Yeah.
Anne said, was your potting soil so wet because it froze over winter and is now thawed out? It's so wet because of probably that a little bit, but they are in pallets being stored behind our orchard fence. They're not under cover. So when we get rain and such, they just, like, water will find its way in. Usually it's just the top bags though, and you get underneath them and you've got just regular
I've also noticed that I think some mice are chewing on the fertilizer bags. And it's not that big a deal because it's not like they're chewing them to where they're dissolving, But in some cases, it's kind of a nuisance. So it'd be nice if we could try to figure out I don't know where you could put them where there wouldn't be mice. Because even in indoor spaces or like a barn or something like that, you can still have an issue with mice.
Cheddar and Russell need to get on it.
Yeah, they do. We need to start leaving a little less food for them so they're encouraged.
Carol said, I love calla lilies. Are there any zones where you don't have to dig them up every year? Is it best to separate them if the rhizomes get too big? Usually for every plant, it's good to separate them at some point to give each individual plant enough air and room to grow and flourish. I think calla and canna lilies are zone 8 through 11. Don't quote me, but I think that they can stay in the ground in those zones. Diane said, my yarrow here in Pennsylvania is very invasive. Do you have that problem? Not with the perennial types I'm planting. We do have a white yarrow though that is like a native weed here, native flower here, and it's not really invasive. I remember it being in our pasture growing up. Yeah, but not like thick, not like Canadian thistles or, you know, stuff that we're trying to get, morning glory or a puncture vine. Ugh. Goat heads, they're the worst. Andrea said, looks like all the comments are replied with porn. How awful. How can you get rid of it? Yeah, it's a kind of a YouTube problem. There are bots.
It's every social media problem.
That's true.
You find it on Facebook and Twitter.
But on Facebook and Instagram, it's way easier to get rid of. Like, you have to monitor it. You have to ban the person, and I try, because usually on Instagram, the second I post, there's like 2 or 3 comments that are like explicit, and I immediately get rid of those. And then it usually doesn't happen more unless it's the other kind of bot that's like, hi, we're not Facebook friends. Can you send me your...
Please add me up.
Yeah, kindly add me. Right. Yeah. So there's all kinds of different things going on. Just never reply to those, ever. We try our best to clean them up and ban those people on the platforms where we can do that.
It shouldn't be our responsibility. It feels like it could be such an easy thing to filter that type of spam.
Maybe it's not. I mean, why wouldn't they have done it at this point if it's easy?
It doesn't, I don't know. These companies have done wonders, the types of things that they can accomplish, and the fact that they can't, I mean, it's so repetitive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Every post.
Facebook has algorithms. Like, you never, not never, you almost never see explicit material on Facebook. Almost never.
It's
like,
more like the send me a friend request kindly.
You could maybe count on like one hand the amount of explicit things that you've seen on Facebook. They have algorithms that know what an image is, and then they send that to somebody to determine if it's, you know, actually explicit or not. Mm-hmm. And so for things like algorithms like that, that's really difficult to look at an image and try to determine what is in that image and if it's explicit or not. Mm-hmm. These spam comments are the same. They're always the same. Mm-hmm. Like, you could ban every phrase like add me up or kindly send me a friend request.
WhatsApp number is.
Yeah, WhatsApp numbers. Mm-hmm. Just say like, I'm sorry, we're just not allowing in comments, or even simple things like, how about you ban, you know, maybe like new accounts that are created that comment more than like 2 or 3 times on a single video, it just turns to spam. Uh-huh. You're just not allowed to comment multiple times if you're a brand new account. Uh-huh. You know, you need to have had your account for, I feel like there's so many ways they could be banning these comments, but instead they don't. It's like there's a reason that they don't.
Maybe we'll find out one day.
It's like it's not beneficial for them to ban them.
Right. Okay, last video from this week was a tour of all the destruction, plus a little bit of perennial transplanting. That was actually the point. That was going to be the point of the video I was filming, because that's what I was going to be doing that day, was transplanting perennials, and it kind of turned into a tour of all the trenches that are going on right now. So the whole area from the house to the Hartley and then back to the barn. I think you had the thumbnail was a drone image, right?
Yeah.
But you didn't have any drone footage in the video.
Well, here's the problem. It was a little bit...
Somebody said it was like a bait and switch.
Yeah, it kind of was, because the drone footage was actually from like the next day. Oh. So like that drone footage is going to make its way into a video at some point. Uh-huh. But I didn't have any drone footage from the point that video was shot. So I just used that because it still kind of showed... You know, it was just a little farther in the progress.
Sure.
So, in fact, sense. You know what? We can just play the footage right now. You know what? This might be the second time they just saw it. So
no, maybe. Okay. So Lauren said, wow, amazing the amount of work that you all got done in a day. And Chad does amazing work. We all need someone like Chad in our area who takes such care and precision with his work. Just goes to show you that he respects his customers. And that is so true. And that's why he is so busy. So busy all the time. Jordan said, did you guys capture any of the floor installation of the Hartley? We caught every last second of the floor installation. In fact, today we're hoping that I'm going to go clean the floor. It needs a good thorough scrubbing, which we will capture for you, and then we will tour you through it, let you see. It's not 100% done because it's going to come out of the Hartley just a little bit, but they've got trenches back behind, and they didn't want to finish it, of course, when there's big holes right there. They couldn't finish it at that point. So Stephanie said, Aaron, can we see an aerial shot of the deconstruction? I find it very interesting.
Yeah, there you go. Good shot.
Lori said, can we see your new hose link install? I have one waiting for installation and this looks very interesting. We've done the new hose link install. Are you talking like on top of the post?
Yeah.
Is that?
We should just start a video at some point where you just show the different ways that we've mounted our hose links. So awesome. Like, yeah, that's one of the best things in our garden.
I'm about ready to cave and have one in the vegetable garden.
Really?
Well, with the charcoal ones,
yeah,
like the charcoal covers make a huge difference because I think the charcoal would blend in with the black fence that we have, and it also swivels. So if we had it on like the arbor beam, the beam right by the arbor, so I could pull it straight out, then I could like swing it back and hug it up against the fence instead of having a wheel of hose on the ground right there.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to weigh the options there because I do also, well, even with the coil of hose, I have to pull it straight out and then I go back through the arbor if I need to go backwards.
Right.
Anyway, you wait. You wait until I'm ready. He's going to take this as a green light to put one in right there. But we've installed them different ways. So on top of a 4x4 post, on a 4x4 post, we've done them, like installed them on buildings and also on a pipe. So we could show all of those things, probably. Yeah. Kristen said, always amazed at Laura's ability to remember what she planted where, but wondering, do you ever use one of those plant ID apps when you are not sure? I actually haven't used one. You
know, there used to be one called Garden Answers, or it was My Garden Answers or something like that.
I remember that.
And they wanted to sponsor like content. They wanted us to promote it.
But the first time we met the guy at a show, right?
Yeah,
and
it didn't work.
So the first he's like, you got to check this out. Yeah. And so we found a plant and he was trying to show us and it wouldn't work. It wouldn't ID the plant, and we were like, nah, no thanks.
Well, and I decided it was not a good, well, we decided, I talked to you about it, but you don't care about most of that kind of stuff. But I was like, the name is too close and I don't want there to be confusion, especially if there does become issues. Because all the companies we work with, it's like you could just part ways if there's an issue, because you never know. Like I said, we're not running those companies.
Right.
They could make a decision that we completely disagree with and we could cut ties. Mm-hmm. But in a situation where the name is so similar, it's like, well, what if they did something weird? And then you're kind of like always connected with them because the name is so close.
Right.
So.
Mm-hmm. Chris said, wouldn't it have been easier to do all the demolition work and installation of utilities before construction of the Hartley house? Start with a clean slate. Trenching would have been faster, thus cheaper. It does look great. I don't think it would have been any faster.
They're different things. Crews that do different things.
We had everything roughed in, so like the water and all of that stuff that goes under the floor, into the walls, that was done at the time of the construction. Everything that's happening now is on the outside. So
it just would have been more expensive.
Last year. So it gave us months and months, really, more to save to do this phase.
Right.
Cedric said, if there was water already by the Hartley for the sprinkler boxes, why did you have to trench to the house for water? We had to trench from the well, which is like right in front of where we park our cars, which is not very far from the Hartley. But we have to trench because we have to do it a lot deeper than our regular irrigation boxes so that it's a frost-free. Because I wanted potable water. I wanted water that I could use like to drink in the Hartley. And I wanted it to be frost-free so that it's running all winter long.
Do you want to explain frost-free?
So frost-free has to be dug down 4 feet in the line
in our area.
Because it depends on how far the frost line goes down in your soil. So typical water lines are like 18 inches or 2 feet down below the soil surface, which is a little bit risky because some years we can get really cold, and if you have live water running through there in the wintertime, it could freeze and break and like cause huge problems. So anything frost-free, so like all of our hydrants that we have that are frost-free, that trench runs 4 feet underneath the soil surface so that it doesn't freeze. Anything else on that?
Well, yeah, so running from the house to
electric is running from the house
to the greenhouse. Yeah,
right?
Which we're not actually using. We figured since we have a trench, we already have to run the electric, so let's just throw in a gas line, and it'll just be stubbed up by the Hartley in case,
you want a
future,
gas fireplace.
But yeah, we had to run water from the well to the greenhouse, and then we also have to run HVAC from the greenhouse back to the barn because we wanted the condenser unit. Is that what it's called?
Oh, that's right.
To be sitting back behind the barn.
Right, yeah.
So that's why we had to have so much trenching done because like each different utility... I
totally forgot about that.
Each utility needs something a little bit different. And while we were at it, we just thought, well, let's just trench it 4 feet deep and let's get some faucets that we can put in the wintertime that can be used in the wintertime. Because if you're already trenching in an area, like going down 4 feet versus 2 feet, he's already bringing in an excavator.
Yeah.
Let's just do the 4 feet. Get in the stuff. And then what's interesting is, so we put in the stuff at 4 feet, and then Chad's going to backfill to about 2 feet, and then we're going to run a couple more things at the 2 feet level, because you don't want everything at 4 feet.
You're going to have just like empty conduit in there too, right? So we can pull
for electrical.
Like
there's I don't know if you call it like high voltage. Yeah, high voltage and then low voltage. So low voltage is like Ethernet or cable lines, and then high voltage is your actual power. So we've got two pieces of conduit running to each location.
So electric is done, to my understanding.
Yeah, the conduit's in.
They're going to come back, pull the wire, and then they're going to install, we did get 2 fans for either side of the Hartley, and like the inside, and then they'll install the chandelier. And the last question from this video was from Forever Blooms with Jennifer. Laura, whatever happened to that partnership you had with Home Depot that one time? I remember seeing a video you did where Home Depot sponsored it. That was in 2018. We just had Benjamin.
Yeah.
You constructed a patio for a loved one, my brother and his wife and family, using rented Home Depot equipment. You did that one video and then that's it. Your other partnerships appear to be ongoing, so I thought maybe the Home Depot one would be the way too. What happened? How was it working with a big chain like Home Depot as opposed to a smaller business like a Spoma or Garner Supply? How did the Home Depot partnership come about? Why don't you are all the business here, so you...
Well, okay, so with Home Depot, I'll say we made the most amount of money with at the time.
Yeah, for a single project.
Working with Home Depot, it was they offered us more money than anybody did. We also kind of had to make a decision. Working with a large chain like that, they don't. You're kind of a number. Because they work with other people too. There's nothing kind of personal about the relationship when you do videos like that. Also, you're promoting a chain, and so you have to decide: is that something that we want to do? Do we want to keep doing that? Or do we want to be promoting local garden centers? Because your parents own a garden center, and there's nothing wrong with Home Depot. We buy lots of stuff at Home Depot. I'm glad that it exists. That's great.
It provides jobs and livelihoods for a lot of people.
Things. Yeah, I have nothing against Home Depot. But on the other hand, there's also a need for local garden centers that have a wider variety of selection and maybe more knowledgeable people who care a little bit more about, plants and things like that. So anyway, it just didn't feel like it was like the best fit for us to keep working with Home Depot. Not that we had anything, nothing went bad or anything.
No, it was a fun experience.
We probably could have made more money if we, kept working with Home Depot.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure we could have,
but they also want things to be a certain way, and they want approvals and things, and that's the beauty of working with the companies we work with now, is that they just let us do whatever we want, and that's what we want above everything is just freedom.
We have a really good relationship to where we trust each other. I feel like
nobody tells at this point, and really almost all of our past videos, nobody tells us what to make or how to make
or what to say or what to feature
or what you can't say.
And there's some things that I just simply wouldn't, and people know, I'm not going to promote a bunch of red flowers. Because I don't like red flowers in my garden, and you can't make me. I don't like it, you can't make me, sort of a thing. And so it's just been pretty open and they've been easy partnerships, and just pleasant and lovely. Yeah. Anyway, that's it for this week's recap video. I think we're going to head to the Hartley now and start cleaning the floor so we can show you what that looks like. I am over the moon with how it turned out. I love everything about it, and I am so glad we waited. I'm so glad we did not just pick some random thing that was okay. I'm glad that we just let it sit powder dirt floor all winter, fall and winter. And the whole time I had no idea. I'm like, I know that this thing in my mind, it exists somewhere. And our local rock yard, Julie, she at Ontario Rock and Landscape, she found this stone out of Oklahoma.
Yeah, or Arkansas.
Oh, it's right on the border. I think she said it came out of Oklahoma, but it's kind of like us, we're right on the border. Sure, so we're kind of like, oops, we share towns together.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I'm just so thrilled with it. So anyway, that's what we're going to go do. So you'll see that video here probably after this one. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching today. Hope you are having a great day. Have a great week, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.